Hey everyone, welcome to the quick hitter version of Catch and Shoot 2.0. Coming up on this rendition, CP3 is bound for the Valley of the Sun. How does he fit in with that Suns team, and how good of a running mate is Devin Booker? From the NBA draft to a little bit more of kind of NBA offseason fodder, the moratorium period was lifted on Monday. Free agency will start on Friday. And guys, this is, I think, the part of the conversation where everybody really gets excited about teams are going to try and make themselves better. We've already seen some trades, maybe not consummated, but they're agreed upon in principle, one of which, CP3, is on his way to Phoenix. What does that do for the Suns? We'll start with you, Dan.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I love this deal for Phoenix. When I saw that, he had been rumored to be headed there, I didn't love it just because I think a team acquiring Chris Paul has title aspirations in the next 2 years, and I didn't think Phoenix was quite there. But they really didn't give up anything essential to their current infrastructure there. So I mean, Oubre is a good player, but he was kind of redundant with what Booker already does and how many wings they had on the roster. They didn't give up the 10th pick, which for me was the big thing. I assumed that would be in the deal when I saw that Oubre was going to Phoenix. And there are so many wings, just to go back real quickly to the draft, Devin Vassell out of Florida State, Aaron Nesmith out of Wake Forest, Isaac Okoro out of Auburn. There are so many wings that are perfect values right there that they could just take to fill Oubre's minutes potentially right away. And not saying they can be as good, but so I love that deal for Phoenix. And I mean, I think they're right there. Honestly, I don't think they're a finals contender or anything, but I mean, I think Booker is right there as, he's certainly an all-star. Could be an all-NBA third team guy this year. And yeah, I mean, I just think that the things you got rid of too with Oubre and with Rubio, I mean, Chris Paul can do all of them. He's just an upgrade. He's a better shot creator than Oubre. He's a better distributor than Ricky Rubio. And so, and yeah, I mean, they gave up the pick in 22, but it was protected 1 to 12. So it's not going to be a disastrous asset they're going to be giving up. And so, yeah, no, I mean, I love it for Phoenix. I don't know. What do you guys think?
The question I have, Otto, and maybe you can bounce this off better, is Chris Paul still a championship level point guard? I mean, if he wasn't able to get it done in Los Angeles, couldn't get it done in Houston. Now, you carried an Oklahoma City team that I think a lot of people thought overachieved last year, right? That was a team that wasn't expected to make the playoffs. You put him with Devin Booker, and you got Booker, who's a great scorer there, and now you got someone who can actually get him the basketball and opportunity. I don't know if that trade really moves the needle that much for Phoenix.
Well, I mean, look, I don't think that, like we were just saying, I don't think it's going to get them to the NBA Finals, but I think it definitely puts them back in the playoff conversation. I think you're going to have Lob City 2.0 with DeAndre Ayton, which is going to, it'll make for some exciting hoop down there.
And that's a good point. How much does this help him?
Oh, I think it helps Chris Paul. I think it
helps Ayton. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, guy can, CP3 is showing he can deliver the ball, well. So that should be exciting. I mean, look, Phoenix, as we know, I mean, they didn't lose a game in the bubble. The last game they lost was all the way back in March. And obviously, it's because of the shutdown. But I like this. I like this move a lot. And one of the things that's been said about Phoenix over the years is that their medical staff is top notch. I remember hearing Steve Nash talk about that years ago when I was at the magazine, ESPN magazine, working there. And so, an aging guy like Chris Paul will probably be utilizing those services to a greater degree than those other guys.
Yeah, if I could speak on Ayton real fast too. I mean, Ayton to me has become one of the weirdly most overlooked guys in the league. I feel like 6 months after he picked number 1 overall, no one was talking about him because he's not Luka, and the Suns obviously should have taken Luka. But Ayton is really good, and especially defensively, he got a lot better last year. I mean, there was this great piece ESPN did with Schmitz where he was breaking down a lot of his defensive stuff. Ayton is really good, and so I mean, the question of is Chris Paul a championship level point guard? I'm not really sure that's the right question to be asking because he's not the best player on that team anymore. And so I mean, I think I basically spent the first 4 years of Devin Booker's career every year saying I think he's overrated. I had to finally stop with that last year after what he did in the bubble. I had gladly put that take to bed. I was wrong all 4 years. Booker's terrific, and so I mean, this is more of Chris Paul in Houston rather than Chris Paul in Los Angeles. He's not going to be the primary scorer, and I think he can, as Rubio did too. You saw how much Ayton's game blossomed with Rubio getting him the ball in good spots. I think Chris Paul can do that every bit as well, probably better than Rubio could. So yeah, and I just think that team also, I mean, there's just shooting and length everywhere. So I mean, Chris Paul can find it. They can play in transition. They can get out and run. yeah, I think that's a really fun team. And again, in the West, I mean, I don't know if they're like a top 3 seed, but they're certainly a playoff team, I think. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch it.
I'm sure Devin Booker was sitting there when he saw the news coming down and when he was talking to the front office saying, okay, I got a guy now. I got a guy. I have a running mate. I have someone who can get me the basketball from one point guard to the next. The Lakers, obviously, going to be the defending NBA champions. LeBron entering, what is it going to be? His 18th season in the league, not getting any younger. He doesn't need to be bringing the basketball up as much as he does. They go out, they acquire Dennis Schroeder. Does this make the Lakers a better team? And what does Schroeder do for the Lakers?
Yeah, I mean, I think for what they gave up, I think it's a great deal. I mean, Danny Green is not as bad as Twitter would lead you to believe he is, but he, I mean, the whole bubble experience wasn't great for him, and he was, I think, a little overpaid because, I mean, he was signed right after the Kawhi domino fell, and the Lakers kind of just grabbed the scraps. I mean, I thought Schroeder should have been the sixth man of the year last year, and so to get him for the 28th pick and a slightly overpaid 30-something-year-old Danny Green, I think is terrific. Yeah, and I mean, like, Schroeder is a pretty good defender. I think that's sort of lost on some people. And he can shoot, which, like, he couldn't when he came into the league. He was a 40% three-point shooter last year. So, yeah, I think it's a terrific move for them. And I mean, like, one thing they really, like, sorely lacked, especially in the playoffs, was shot creation. Just guys who can take the pressure off. When, LeBron or AD was off the floor, the offense was just really still very stagnant and not a lot of penetration. And guys like, Caruso, and I don't know if KCP will be back, but KCP, like, they're good players. They can hit open shots, but they're very limited offensively. And Schroeder is not. Schroeder can get his own shot. He averaged 18 a game last year on a really good split. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a terrific deal for them. And I mean, the 28th pick, it would be nice to have a little bit of, like, young life injected there, but that's obviously not the priority. Also, I mean, just a quick sidebar. I read a stat somewhere that I think it's only been once in LeBron's career he played with a first-round pick as a rookie. I don't know if that's exactly right, but those guys they're gone, man. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think LeBron's priority is development. So, yeah,
No,
it's good.
definitely not. Well, so as Aaron mentioned, the Lakers obviously defending champs. What other moves do you think that they need to make? Because this will be a challenge unlike any other. Because not only, yes, you obviously want to defend, but you're doing so on such a condensed timetable that you're trying to limit minutes. But you also, the West is really, really good, so you're still trying to get there and get it. Which you expect to get there, but you also want to make sure you have home court. So, what other moves do you think Lakers might make?
Absolutely. I mean, like, the Lakers, they have the I think they have the $5 million mid-level, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, and so they're going to be looking for, like, the vets who are taking the discount to get the ring. I mean, the name I've heard, like, the dream for them is Serge Ibaka. He could certainly get more than $5 million somewhere, but that he would be great for them if they could get it. I mean, he's not a great rim protector at this stage of his career, but he can still kind of do it, and he can really shoot. And he's just a great playoff guy. He always seems to come through in playoff games. So I think Ibaka would be great. Otherwise, I mean, like, just a couple more wings to fill out the rotation, because it's looking like, well, they're certainly going to lose Danny Green if this trade goes through. And then I've heard rumors that KCP is not staying either. At least, I mean, he declined his player option. And so he's going to be testing out the market. I heard Atlanta is going to go after him. And so, yeah, I mean, replacing those wing defenders is definitely going to be key for them. Specifically, I mean, like, guys that they could do that with. I mean, if there's any that come off the top of your head, I mean, like, ones that I can think of, like, the first one that comes to mind is Josh Jackson, which maybe shouldn't be the one, but he's the first guy that came into my mind. I'm a retired Josh Jackson apologist, so that's just my default.
You're just hitting all my pain points here, Daniel. You're talking about Serge Ibaka, and I just remember from sitting within, like, the communications department on draft night when the Magic traded for Serge Ibaka. Not only do you acquire a Serge Ibaka on a one-year deal, but you give up Victor Oladipo, his eventual all-star, in return, and for Evan Fournier. And if you ask any Magic fan to this day, you really traded away Victor Oladipo in order to sign Evan Fournier to an $80 million deal.
Well,
and then you talk about
the bonus too.
What'd you say?
The bonus was in that deal too.
Yeah, absolutely. You lose Domantas Sabonis, and it's just like a double whammy there. And then you talk about Josh Jackson, who is maybe one of the better one-and-done players that Bill Self has had at Kansas, and he's just struggled to get any kind of footing in the league, from his days with the Suns and then to that stint in Memphis. So, but the interesting thing is, with the Lakers and losing Danny Green, that's a team that didn't have a lot of shooting to begin with. Schroeder's an okay shooter. I wouldn't say that he's an exceptional shooter by any means. And so now I think if you're in LeBron and you're looking around, you mentioned they have the $5 million mid-level exception. I just don't know if that's even going to be enough to go out there and get you a shooter. And if you do bring in Ibaka can shoot the three, but Ibaka is an aging star. And I just don't know how much that helps that team. Now, that team is confined on so many different levels based on, what their cap number is and what they have to fill out. So it's a tough spot to be in. But, the original question was, does Schroeder make them better? I think he does.
Yeah, I think he makes them a lot better, especially if Rondo's leaving. Then they need that point guard production. So I think it's a good trade for them.
Yeah. What are you guys' thoughts on Milwaukee? Otto, did you have it? That's a team that for the last 2 years has kind of dominated the Eastern Conference, and we've sat here every year and we said they're so good, they're just going to run through the playoffs. And then you look at what happened this year against the Heat. That Heat team was obviously, kind of just on a roll, but their cap number really confines them, and they're going to have to offer Giannis that supermax. But they're kind of in a position where they have to show him that they're acting in good faith, don't they?
Yeah, they absolutely have to show him that they're showing him the love. I mean, the Miami chatter was going on during the playoffs, and it's still going on, and that'd be a major concern if you're in Milwaukee. I mean, you don't get stars in Milwaukee coming through like that every day. I mean, nobody does for that matter. So you really gotta move heaven and earth to make something happen there. Dan?
No, I mean, I totally agree. In terms of specifically what they do, I mean, I was hearing a lot of Chris Paul rumors for them, which obviously isn't going to happen now. I don't know. I mean, this is hindsight. Getting rid of Brogdon for me was always really tough. Yeah, I think that was a terrible mistake. I'm a huge Brogdon guy. I thought a healthy Pacers team last year was looking like an Eastern Conference Finals contender, but it's beside the point. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're certainly, I don't think, just flanking what they currently have with some, nice signings here and there. I mean, I've heard Joe Harris mentioned for them. So I mean, that would be a big signing. That would definitely make some things happen. But I don't know. I mean, the thing that's weird is, you're moving heaven and earth to try and keep Giannis. But one of the main reasons last year that they came up so short was that Giannis's playmaking just wasn't there. And so especially late in games. So it's weird to think one of the biggest flaws of the team was the way they were depending on Giannis to do things he couldn't really do. But how do you improve the team while catering to what Giannis wants? I don't know. That's a tough one to solve. I mean, Dinwiddie is a guy who can probably be had maybe for that Indiana.
You're speaking it into existence. And I thought about this, Dan. We were just sitting here. We were just trying to talk about how the Nets could acquire James Harden, right?
Yeah.
And you got to get rid of Dinwiddie, right? Because the salaries need to balance out. What would Dinwiddie do for Milwaukee?
I mean, he's a shot creator. He can shoot. And so, I mean, Milwaukee was weird last year in the sense that they were almost too deep. They needed to consolidate. Actually, there was no way Kyle Korver and Marvin Williams should have been playing legitimate minutes in a game 5 of the semifinals. I didn't understand that at all. And so they were sticking so strictly to Giannis on that minutes restriction, and or I mean, it wasn't even a certain number that he just wasn't playing enough. I don't feel like so. Dinwiddie just gives you another guy who can score, who can space. And so I mean, he's helpful. I mean, does he transform you from what Milwaukee was to the championship favorite? I don't know, but that's something to look out for, I guess.
And if you want to check out the full version of Catch and Shoot 2.0, if you want to hear a little bit more about the NBA draft, free agency, and trades that are being consummated this week, check out the full version. It's courtesy of Pure Hoops Media.